As someone who's been daily driving Linux for over 4 years, I'm always fascinated by the challenges that new users run into. The most recent video of Linus Tech Tips and their 2026 Linux challenge is no exception. From choosing the right distro to dealing with file systems, gaming issues and getting the right applications installed, it's honestly kind of wild how different their experiences are compared to my own. But there are reasons for that. So in today's video, we are going to take a look at some of the problems that the LTT team ran into, how those problems compare to my own personal experiences, and ultimately what can be done to fix them. Let's start off with Linus's distribution choice. He decided to go with Pop! OS. Again. Now Pop! OS has been a really great choice in the past. It's based on Ubuntu, a distro that was always considered to be one of the best. It featured a modified version of the GNOME desktop environment that followed its own design philosophy and workflow, and they had exceptional NVIDIA support. Nowadays though, it's a bit different. System76, the developers behind Pop! OS, have been hard at work to replace the old GNOME-based desktop with their in-house developed Cosmic desktop environment, and it's already available in their latest long-term support, 24.04. Okay, so we have a couple of issues here. First of all, many of the blog posts and AI chatbots refer to Pop! OS being a good choice for gaming on older data, but also they refer to the GNOME-based version, not to Cosmic. I don't really want to blame anyone here, because I don't know the reasons or tests that System76 did that deemed that Cosmic was ready, but now with all of the issues that Linus demonstrated, and many more that have already been addressed by others, it would be nice to properly show that it's brand new in a more warning way, instead of mentioning it at the bottom of the page. Yeah, personal opinion of course, but I currently don't recommend Pop! OS, simply because I think that Cosmic still needs at least 2 more years of development. And that's why it's important for us to keep updating lists or let users know the current state of a distro, so that we create enough noise to at least make some users aware that issues could happen. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. Network shares on KDE Plasma. Well, I have been criticizing this in almost all of my GNOME vs KDE Plasma videos. When you access a network share in Dolphin, KDE Plasma's file browser, it does not automatically mount shares, but more or less streams them dynamically on demand. This was a genuine design choice, because KDE decided that remote shares should just be that, remote and temporary. However, this approach has some drawbacks, especially on Linux. If a program does not use the KDE Plasma file picker, then you just cannot access the share. GIMP, for example, uses a GDK-based file picker, which does not show the shares that you added. Programs like DaVinci Resolve have their own, and there is also no way to access it. GNOME, on the other hand, went with a different approach and mounts shares in a consistent browsable path. That means that regardless of the application that I have open, I can always access the share, either by utilizing the inbuilt file picker or just by browsing to the correct path. I personally find this approach much better, because messing with the fstep file to auto-mount shares is for once very complicated, especially if you also consider use cases like laptops that don't always have network access, and you often also store plain text credentials somewhere, which might be fine in a local environment, but definitely not for business use cases. KIO Fuse, the counterpart to how GNOME handles file shares, is coming though, so we might just need to wait it out. Luke's attempt to run games off an NTFS formatted drive was really interesting to me. I have heard that games don't perform as well on these drives and that you can occasionally run into some problems. But interestingly, back when I was still dual booting Windows, I used to do that and didn't have any problems with that. So Windows games can work fine on NTFS formatted drives, but your mileage may vary. And honestly, if you don't want any issues, you could just put your games on a more Linux native file system, like Xfort, BadRFS or whatever your distro comes with. Elijah's problem of some cutscenes not playing. Yet this one is a bummer, and fortunately something that I have not experienced myself yet. Proton, Valve's compatibility layer, does not ship with the required video codecs that are sometimes needed to render those cutscenes. Why? Well, because those licenses cost money, and most paid operating systems include them in a way that most games can't just use them. On Linux, while you often can install those codecs manually, there is no official standardized API that every game could just use. From my own personal experience, most games are fine, but if you run into a Steam game with that problem, then you might need to switch out Proton for Proton GE from Glorious Eggroll, which fixes that issue. In all honesty, I think that this issue can only be addressed once enough people switched over. Linus and Bazite. This one was funny, and it highlights an important problem not only on Linux, but everywhere in tech really. What is a beta? From Linus's perception and his experience, beta means generally usable. Well, often, but not always. A beta release for a new distro, like Fedora 44 for example, or a release of a web browser generally means kind of stable, but we're still testing. However, for many video games in early access, mobile apps, and even funny enough other operating systems, beta means more like we are deep in development and just testing. The spectrum of what a beta is exactly is just too broad. The Nvidia situation with Bazzite to me personally is more like an alpha, but because the term is used so broadly, it's hard to differentiate it. I really welcome the change on their website, because even though nothing has changed in terms of compatibility or naming, the user interface makes it much clearer now that this is not yet intended to run flawless. Good stuff. Okay, let's move on. Since Pop! OS didn't really work all that well, Linus has chosen a different Linux distro for his laptop. He chose Ubuntu. Now, Ubuntu was not a bad choice. It has been around for a long time, is usually really up to date, and many users really love it as a desktop and gaming operating system. So why am I mentioning it here? Because Linus experienced a couple of issues that I want to address with my own personal experience, with both the main Ubuntu but this KDE version as well. From my own experiences, nowadays there are no longer distributions that just work. I recently tried them both when I was setting up kiosk PCs, and in all honesty, Ubuntu gets in the way of itself. I constantly got notifications that some background process crashed. Then I had the issue that the device, which was a desktop Lenovo PC, did not receive firmware updates, despite them being available via the Linux Vendor Firmware Service, short LVFS. And if you were to use the regular Ubuntu, then of course you get the Snap Store, which often still can't update itself without some workaround. Another unfortunate thing that Linus ran into was package support. Ubuntu does not come with FlatHub and Flatpak pre-enabled, and while it is very easy to just enable it in KDE Discover nowadays, it is an extra step that a new user must know. And since many developers distribute their software officially through FlatHub nowadays, in my opinion it's kind of a necessity. Now this is purely based on my own personal experiences, so if you don't have any issues with Ubuntu or Ubuntu, then please let me know in the comment section down below. Okay, that was it, and it was a lot. The most recent video of LTT highlighted very important and real issues on the Linux desktop. While many distributions have already started to resolve many of these problems and the out-of-the-box experience has never been better, we still have a problem of getting the right information to new users. By creating new blog posts, making videos about recent developments, and by encouraging users to give Linux a chance, we can further help it to grow on the desktop market. And that's where I leave it. So what did you think of the latest LTT video? Were there any issues in there that you experienced yourself? What do you think can be done to fix them? Please let us know in the comment section down below. Just as always, before I end this video, I quickly wanted to mention that if you want to support the channel, make even better videos, then please feel free to check out our membership program, as well as our online shop, whereas each sale helps to support various open source projects. If you've liked this video, then please make sure to show it with a like, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any future Linux videos just like this one. I hope I'll see you again, but in the meantime, all that's left to say now is good morning, good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. I'll see you around.